Hello. You guys are seeing the backyard from under the deck. And the reason for that is because I walked around under the deck while it was snowing. This was our first snow yesterday for the year. So I thought I would record some of it to put behind the images for the Solds video. So it's not a great angle. I'm sorry. You're looking at half of the video is the underneath of the deck, but it's the only place I could put the camera where it wouldn't get snowed on. So I had to look around under the whole deck for a spot that didn't have any water or snow on it to figure out where to put the camera on the tripod. So this is what we ended up with. If you stick around to the end, if you look in the far distance straight ahead from the camera, you will see a little squirrel running around in the trees. So there's a little wildlife in this. Not the cat this time. He's probably hiding somewhere. These sales are for over a month this time. I pulled the numbers for October 1st through November 7th. So a month and a week, about 5.5 weeks, I think it works out to. So when I give the numbers at the end, just keep that in mind. Okay, I'm going to get comfortable here because we're in for a long ride. There are 48 sales, I think, somewhere around there. Anyway, okay. I'm going in reverse order. So the first one I'm going to give you is the most recent sale, and then we'll work our way back. The first sale was a viewer. Thank you, Kay. She purchased a vintage Joseph Originals Mouse Village Happy Birthday figurine from Japan. It did not have the sticker on it. Super cute. I mentioned, or I showed this in my recent video of some stuff that I got in an auction lot. So uh, definitely have made my money back on that lot even prior to this sale. But I also told you guys that in my last video. So um, the next two items were purchased by the same person. I listed them separately, but she sent me a message and asked me if I would do $100 for both figurines. And I said yes. So I went in and changed the price on each of them. And, or I sent her an offer actually. She was watching both of the items. So I sent an offer out to her so that the price would equal out to $100 for both of them. So the first one was a Joseph Originals Farmer's Daughter with Lamb figurine, and that one sold for $55 with her discount. And the second one she purchased was a Joseph Originals Farmer's Daughter with goose or duck. It looks like a duck to me, but some people also were calling it a goose, so I just listed it that way. That one sold for $45. So it was 100 for both of them. I could have gotten more if I only had these listed, and I'm not kidding you, less than 24 hours before I got this message from this person. So if you happen to see Joseph Originals figurines, and one of my viewers mentioned that she keeps an eye out for these. I'd never sold any before. I never had any of them before. I just happened to buy this lot, and they happened to be in there. So I got very lucky with these. It was a nice sale, really nice sale, and I can use it right now. So um, the next item I sold was a wood look resin Thanksgiving harvest pilgrim figurine couple. So it was the husband and the wife, I guess. Anyway, they looked like they were carved from wood, but they were resin. So the couple, and this is funny because I had pulled these from my store probably 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and I had them sitting in my ended folder. And I went through my ended folder and I relisted a few things. These, because I was going to get rid of them. These are one of the things that I relisted, and they sold within a couple weeks of relisting them. Anyway, they sold for $10. Oh, the shipping, I thanked Kay. I got to go back now. She paid $6 for the mouse and $5.66 in shipping. The Joseph's Originals, again, those sold for 100. And I did give her a discount on the shipping, or I refunded part of the money, but she paid somewhere around $8 for the shipping on those. And then the figurine couple, the Thanksgiving couple, they paid 10 for the items and 704 in shipping. So I've got to remember to do my shipping in this. Next item I sold was a Bearstone collection, Boyd's Bears, the Elfberry Workshop, and it came with 3 figurines. I did not have the box. I paid $11 for this at a yard sale not too long ago. Sold for $21.25, and they paid $11.42 in shipping. And this went to Phoenix, so back where I'm from. Um, anyway, next item was a solid brass bud vase, flower fluted pedestal, 6 inches. I paid $1 for this. Oh no, wait. Oh no, this was part of that auction lot that I got, and everything worked out to $1 because of the number of items that were in the lot. So those Joseph's figurines each worked out to $1 a piece, and this brass vase was also $1, and I sold it for 8. It wasn't very big, and it super badly needed polishing. It was so bad. The guy that bought it, and I will show you guys a picture, sent me a photo after he'd polished it, and it turned out great. It's beautiful. So he says he has a new hobby polishing brass, so he bought it for that specific reason. And you never know who your buyers are going to be. And I said that it needed to be polished in the listing. You know, obviously, you could see from the photo it needed it badly. He got it for a really decent price. I've been pricing low just because, you know, people need to save money, but I need to get rid of stuff. And so it's working out for everybody, I guess, on my solds anyway. Next item I sold was let's see, did I tell you guys what he's paid $8 for the vase and $6.46 in shipping. The next item I sold was a leather drawstring hobo shoulder bag made by Claudio Ferici. I picked this up at a yard sale not too long ago for $1. It sold for $25, and shipping paid was $7.09. The next item I sold was a 2-pack of Disney Minnie Mouse squishy stress balls, polka dot and tie-dye plush. So there were 2 of them, and they're super cute. These worked out to about $1 a piece, and I sold these for $5.50, and shipping paid was $5.66. They're not heavy. I don't know why the shipping, the person must be far away from me or something. Plus shipping has increased. You guys know I did a video about that. So next item I sold was a vintage 'Tis the Season holiday teddy bear 18-ounce Christmas ceramic mug, large, new in box. Paid about $1 for it. Sold for $6.50, and shipping paid was $7.48. I picked this up at an estate sale, and it was the one where they had just a bunch of stuff in the downstairs. The woman had her own business doing like floral decor and knickknacks and stuff like that. And I did not realize when I picked this up that there were a buttload of them listed on eBay. So that's why it was priced so low. But, you know, oh, and this is another one that I had pulled from my store, and I relisted it and it sold. But I waited a few weeks in between, and then when I relisted it, it sold. So next item I sold was a Hobby Lobby ceramic 7-inch owl tea light candle holder, brown and gold, and I included a tea light, the battery operated ones, the little battery operated ones. Anyway, I paid about $4 for this thing, and it only sold for 5, so I barely made my money back. Shipping paid was $7.29. I picked it up though in a lot of a bunch of owl stuff from a Facebook marketplace. So I was already in the profit on that lot. So technically, you know, because everything else had paid for the lot, I was I was in the profit already, but individually the items cost $4. So that's how that worked out. The next item I sold was a Jim Shore honeybee with heart 3 3/4 inch miniature 2022 figurine. Worked out about $2 for that, and it sold for $7.65. Shipping paid was $6.81. The next item I sold was a nesting measuring bowl set, 4-piece fall flowers Pioneer Woman stoneware. I paid about $2 for them, and they had gotten down to $7, which is what they sold for, and shipping paid was $7.29. The next item I sold was a vintage handmade Maria Helena Portugal blonde ski girl felt doll with tags. She was in that auction lot of all the random things, and she sold. I paid about $1 for her. She sold for $20 within just a couple days of me listing her, and the shipping paid was $7.59. The next item I sold was a, let's see, Demdeco. Demdeco, I think that's, I don't know if I'm saying it right or not. Willow Tree, Angel of Healing by Susan Lordy. Paid about $1 for it, and it sold for $4.50. It was little. And shipping paid was $6.92. I had reduced the price a couple of times. The next item I sold was a Lennox Peppermint Splendor Light Up Santa ceramic figurine from 2003. It was about 6.5 inches tall. I paid $5 for it at a yard sale during the summer. It ended up selling for 10. I had it priced higher, but it just wasn't moving, so I kept reducing the price. Sold for 10, and shipping paid was $7.48. The next item I sold was a Lennox Baby Memories 10-piece miniature ornament set. There was one that had been repaired. I paid $5 for these, and I sold them for $35. Now, I picked these up from a Facebook marketplace person. I saw them listed for 10, and I just on a fluke I looked them up on eBay, and they were selling for over $60. So I contacted the person. I was all ready to pay $10 because they were consistently selling for over 60, or 60, around 60, or 80 or more, with the box all nice, and everything was complete. So I messaged her and I asked her if any of them were chipped or broken or anything. She said no. And so I was like, okay, and we made a time for me to go pick them up. Anyway, I messaged her and told her I was heading over, and she said she opened the box and double checked them, and one of them was broken. So she said, I'll reduce it and only sell it for 5 if you still want them. And I was like, sure. I figured I could do something. Anyway, I was able to repair the ornament. They sold for $35, and shipping paid again was $8.20. The box was in really bad condition. It was missing the inner stuff that, goes packed around everything. So it was essentially just the ornaments that I was selling, and the one that I repaired turned out you could barely tell it had been repaired. So $5 into 35, still not bad. So I was happy with that. The next item I sold was a vintage 8-inch ceramic lighted Christmas tree Santa night light. It was Santa with child. This I picked up from I met someone several months back during the summer, and we sat in her garage, and she price checked everything, and I way overpaid. I didn't make my money back on this. I paid 10 for it, stupidly, and it sold for $10.80, and shipping paid was $9.33. At least I made something back on it, and it's gone. I've still got a bunch of the crap that I bought from her that I overpaid on, but I'm getting there as far as making my money back, so I'm okay. Next item I sold was 4 Oreo cookie ceramic banana split dishes, 8 inches, Kraft Foods, vintage 90s. I paid $3 for these, and they sold for 9. I had them listed higher, and I just kept reducing the price. Shipping paid was $10.47. These were in mint condition. They were really cute. I just had no use for them, so you know. And I picked those up from a Facebook Marketplace person that I picked up some other items from. So, I made some profit. It wasn't a lot, but I made something. Next item I sold was Department 56, lot of 18 snow babies. I put no boxes and made notes. There weren't any that were damaged, but some of them needed to be cleaned up a little bit. I was just trying to get rid of all the snow babies. Anyway, sold them for $20, and I've already made my money back on those snow babies. So this was just to get rid of them, and so they sold for 20, and shipping paid was $14.32. That was a pain in the butt, but all of them got there in one piece, and I already got positive feedback, so everybody's happy, and they are gone. And I've got all the dreamsicles listed on Facebook Marketplace. I'm done with those. They're too heavy, and there's 28 of them left. and I listed them for 20, and I've gotten one message from someone who said she wants to pick them up Wednesday evening, so we'll see if it turns into anything. But if I can get 20 for those, then I will have made all my money back on those dreamsicles, and I will not be picking up any more of those. They're just too heavy. It doesn't they're not worth anything. Not to ship, If you had a little shop like in a mall or whatever, a booth or something, they'd be great because people could walk by, see one, and take it with them and not have to pay for shipping. But they're just obnoxiously heavy and not worth it. So let's see. The next item I sold was a willow tree music speaks with darker skin, 7-inch sculpted hand painted figurine. I paid about $5 for these it was a yard sale that I recently went to. Sold for 18 and shipping paid was 7.29. The next item I sold was a Pilgrim Squirrels 4x6 photo frame resin figurine. It was from the Kohl's Celebrate Fall Together collection. I paid $2 for it, and it sold for $7.92. Shipping paid was $7.48. The next item I sold was a Jim Shore Beatrix Potter Peter Rabbit with onions. Did not have the box for it. This I picked up at a yard sale recently. I don't know if they didn't know it was Jim Shore because I bought some other Jim Shore from her while I was there and she charged me more for them. This one I only paid $1 for. It sold for $22. So that was a good sale. The next item I sold was a 2021 Willow Tree Courageous Joy Women of Color Susan Lordy figurine. I paid $5 for it and it sold for $24. The next item I sold was a small vintage. It was either pot metal or bronze. I'm not sure which it was, but it was an angel holy water font. Little deal that hooks, you hang it on the wall, and you can put holy water in it. It was only 4.25 inches tall. I paid $2 for it. I believe I got this at a church sale. I'm not positive, and I sold it for 12, and shipping paid was $7.44. The next item I sold was a Boyd's Bears Rex Beersley Bearstone Holland a Knight's Work Halloween. It was a little Halloween figurine, super cute. The bear's dressed as a dragon. The flashlight did not work, so I had to mention that. It had those stupid little round batteries and the super small ones. I do not have any of those, so I couldn't test it. So I said that, the light wasn't working. They might need new batteries, but I couldn't guarantee that that would make it work. And I paid $1 for it. It sold about $1. It sold for $8.50 and shipping paid was $7.27. The next item I sold, this was picked up at a yard sale for $2, was a Noah's Ark nightlight pastel colors nursery lamp with animals, 6x6 inches, vintage from 1999. Again, I paid $2 for it. It sold for $10, and the shipping paid was $8.42. The next item I sold, and this I picked up from the local guy that he buys the storage sheds. Blue Sky Clayworks Fairy Blossom Birdhouse by Heather Goldmink candle holder. Paid about $4 for it. It sold for $18, and shipping paid was $7.48. So that was a good sale and a really cute. And I'd never sold any of those before. One of my viewers knew what it was when she saw it in the video. Next item I sold. This I brought from Phoenix. Have had it for years in my store. I did not make my money back on it, but whatever. Hans B.A. Vintage MCM Danish teakwood smoking bird bottle stopper. Super rare, and these used to sell for quite a bit. There were some collectors out there, but for whatever reason, they did not want this one, and I've had it listed off and on. I've pulled it and put it back, pulled it and put it back. Anyway, I paid about $5 for it at an auction lot, and it sold for $5, and the buyer paid $6.46 in shipping. I'm just glad it's gone. Somebody got it, and, I probably will not get any more of those ever again. I sold others from the same maker for quite a bit more than that. So I don't know what the deal was with this one. It was weird. Next item I sold, and I've had these listed for a while, I believe since Arizona. Fitz and Floyd, Dog and Cat in a Sleigh, Salt and Pepper Shakers, 1995. And I paid about 475 for these in an auction lot. They sold for 9, so I mostly made my money back. And shipping paid was 1075. The next item I sold, and this I got from the local guy that buys the storage rooms, was a Scottish bagpiper, 8.5 inches tall, resin figurine made by Sculptures UK. I paid about $4 for it. It sold for 18, and shipping paid by the buyer was 748. The next item I sold, and I got this from the church rummage sale, was a hand-turned live edge maple bowl, unbranded, 8.5 inches by 5 inches. There was a signature on the bottom. It was just 3 initials. Paid about $2 for it, and it sold for 10. And the buyer paid $9.81 in shipping. Let's see. The next item I sold was 4 vintage Grandeur Noel porcelain pastel angel figurines with instruments. These were those huge angels that were almost 10 inches tall. I paid about $10 for all 4 of them. They sold for $36, and the buyer paid $14.29 in shipping, and I've already gotten very nice positive feedback for those. So I'm glad they made it there. I was really worried about them in the shipping. They went in a gigantic box. I used a buttload of bubble wrap. It was insane. But they got there, and the buyer is very, very happy. So I'm glad. The next item I sold was a Rite Aid Collector's Choice large bisque clown jester Mardi Gras doll. That's how I put it in the title. Paid about $2 for this at an auction lot. It finally sold. I've had this listed for almost a year. Let's see. Paid $2. It sold for 15, and buyer paid 15.88 in shipping. This thing was heavy. It felt like it was filled with sand. I have no idea what it was filled with, but it was heavy and big. It was 17 inches tall, so, not a tiny doll. But it's gone, so yay. I've got another one that is blue and gold, and it's really pretty, and it's in very good condition except for one of the hands is cracked, or it broke, like the tip of the fingers. I've still got the piece. I don't know, I might try to repair it and see if I can sell that one too, but they're so big and heavy. Okay, we're not that far from the end, so we're getting there. The next item I sold was a metal jack-o'-lantern with marble eyes, tea light candle holder, 7 inches tall. I included another one of the little candles, the battery-operated ones. Paid $2 for it, sold it for $4.50, so I really made no money on it. Shipping paid was $6.81. The next item I sold was a 2-pack of Shopkins Little Secrets lockets, ages 5 plus, new in box. I paid about $2 for those. They sold for $8.10, and the shipping paid was $6.61. The next item I sold was a Willow Tree Music Speaks lighter skin, 7-inch sculpted hand painted figure. Paid $5 for her. She sold for 18, and shipping paid was $7.16. The next item I sold was, I'm trying to get down to my pictures so I can kind of have a visual of what I'm telling you guys about. A Myers USA vintage clutch, diamond stitch ivory, gold tone jewel accents with handle. It was a very vintage, like 70s or 80s purse. Paid about $5 for it in an auction lot. It only sold for 10. I thought it would do better than that, but it did not. Buyer paid $7.92 in shipping. The next item I sold, and this was a debacle. There were 2 Jim Shore items that I picked up, and one was a witch and one was a frog. And the first one I sold, I sent the wrong item. And then I realized it when someone bought the second one, and I messaged because I went to get it out to ship it, and I was like, oh no, I must have sent the wrong one to the first person. So I messaged the first person and I said, look, I'm really sorry. I sent you the wrong item. when you get it, can you please return it to me immediately so that, because I needed to send it to the second person. And I said, I refunded their shipping and I told them, just please send it back as soon as you get it. Then I messaged the other person and told them what I had done. And I said, as soon as I get the item back from the first person, I will ship it out to you. I refunded her shipping as well. The first person that got the first one was being kind of difficult. And I know they were annoyed, but I had refunded their shipping. I was trying to be nice about it. I was like, look, I'm really, really sorry for the inconvenience, yada, yada, the whole thing. And I had refunded her shipping already. Um, then I saw that she got the package and I messaged her because I was keeping an eye on the tracking and I messaged her and I asked her if there was any way she could return it. And I had sent her a label to return this item to me. And she said that she doesn't get on the freeway, blah, blah, blah. She was dragging her feet. And I went and did some investigative work, looked to see where her house was. There was a post office less than 2 blocks. I'm not kidding you, 2 blocks from her home. And so I messaged her again and I said, look, if you can get this shipped out by tomorrow, I will refund you another $5. I was doing anything I could to get this back from her quick so that I wouldn't be late on shipping it out to the other person. Do you know what I mean? I didn't want any late shipping dings on my account. So I refunded her another $5. She went ahead and shipped it back. She opened it. Now, there was no reason for her to open this package. It had Fat Grandma Fines on the return on the address, so she knew it was from me. She knew the box was a new box. It was a very small box. It was a small item. It was only a couple inches tall. They aren't big, but you guys will see pictures of them. They're like, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches tall, maybe. Anyway, sent her in a nice box, had it all wrapped up in bubble wrap. She sent this thing back. She opened it, first of all, there was no reason for that. All she had to do was print out the label and stick it over the first label and just tape it onto the box, take it to the post office. She didn't do that. No, she opened the box, took it out, and then she shipped it back to me in a completely different box. I don't understand. And she didn't even wrap it back up like I had it. She just threw it in there with the bubble wrap, and I would, so frustrating. Anyway, it thankfully was not damaged when it got back to me because I still had this other person waiting forever for their item. Um, anyway, everybody ended up with their stuff. I haven't gotten feedback from either of these people, which is fine with me because I don't care. But it all worked out in the end, but I pretty much made no money because of all the refunds I sent everyone. Anyway, long story short, this frog I paid $2 for. It sold for 12 originally, but and they paid 6.39 in shipping, but they got their shipping back. So, I took 6.39 off of that. So, I broke even probably on these two items. I'll get to the other one in a few seconds here. The next item I sold was 5 Arita ware Japanese floral pattern rectangular sushi plates. I paid about $1 for these and in an auction lot, and I sold them for 20, and the buyer paid 11.05 in shipping, and I have already gotten positive feedback on that. The next item I sold was another lot of the Shopkins. This one had 5 packages in it. Let's see, Shopkins Little Secrets lockets. All of them were different. It was about $5 for this lot, and they sold for 20, and shipping paid was $7.59. The next item I sold was an LED lighted fall decor pumpkin monogrammed with an H. And it was 8-inch Kirkland's, and I put a video in so they could see that it worked. I paid about $2 for it at an estate sale. It sold for 10, and shipping paid was $9.28. The next item I sold was a Marvel Avengers Iron Man Tony Stark 6-inch action figurine posable toy. Paid about $1 for it, and it was from that Facebook marketplace person that had a bunch of stuff in their basement. That they were an old Facebook, or not Facebook, an old eBay seller, and or her roommate had been. Anyway, I got a bunch of stuff from her. Most of it not great. as it turned out, but I'm making some of my money back here and there. Paid about $1 for it. It sold for 5, and the buyer paid $5.99 in shipping. This next item is the other Jim Shore figurine. Was the mini figurine witch holding a pumpkin Halloween figure. Paid about $2 for it. Buyer paid 12. I refunded her $6.65 in shipping, plus gave her another 5 just to ship it out in time. The next item I sold was a holiday time lighted Christmas tree lot village building. It was only 4 inches, but it was a little tree lot, really cute. The only thing that was wrong with it is the battery door was missing from the bottom of it. And I put the note in there that that was the case. Got a positive. I got positive feedback on it already. I paid about $1 for it in a lot with a bunch of other little random stuff from a Facebook Marketplace seller. This one sold for $4.98, and the buyer paid $7.65 in shipping. I've sold enough items from that lot that it's been paid for. So the next item I sold was a Steve Ashley Studio Pottery Bud Vase Drip Glaze Wedding, 3.25 inches tall. It was really cute. Paid about $2.50 for it. It sold for 12. I have had it listed for quite a while. Buyer paid $7.28 in shipping. The next item I sold was a brass mid-century modern vintage longhorn bull figurine, 6 inches by 4.75 inches. I paid about $2 for it. I can't remember if I got this in an auction lot or at an estate sale. Doesn't matter. Anyway, it sold for 20, so it was a decent sale, and the buyer paid $8.42 in shipping. And the last two items were purchased by the same person, but it wasn't a viewer. Disney Store Canap plates. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Probably not. I don't even remember how much I paid for them. I've had them since Arizona. Anyway, they sold for $20, and shipping paid was $8.42. And the last item, which was actually the first item that sold on October 1st, was a Lenox Disney Crystal Winnie the Pooh. I paid $2 for it. It sold for 15, and I gave them discounted shipping. So between the two items, they paid about $9 in shipping. Anyway, that is it. That's it for my solds. Let's see how much time I've recorded for. Okay, we're at 35 minutes. So I'm going to try and make this quick. I got to finish this up. My net sales, and that's eBay's number, and this is after all of the eBay fees are deducted, but the shipping funds are still included. Were $912.36. The shipping actual cost was $363.33, but my buyers paid a total of $386. So I made about $20 in shipping, $23 on the shipping, somewhere at 22, 23. So it covers some of the boxes and stuff and bubble wrap. My cost of goods was $137.25. So my profit for 5.5 weeks, about 5.5 weeks, was around $411.78, which averages out to about $75 a week. This is not taking into account all of the gas and everything else. You guys know what goes into it if you're a seller. So not horrible, not horrible. There was a period there that I mentioned in one of my videos that sales had just gone in the toilet, and then they picked back up again. So a little bit higher than the previous period, but again, this was an extra week. It wasn't just 1 month. So, taking everything into consideration, it was pretty good for me. That is it, you guys. I'm going to cut this short. I hope that you guys, and again, this video, the background has been our first snow that we had. So I, went out and just sat the camera out there, and then I went back out to go get it. It was cold. It was super cold outside. But it was kind of nice. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a great week, and happy Veterans Day to any veterans. Hopefully I can get this posted today. And I will talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.